The Cheyenne are Native American tribes that speak a language of Algonquian origin that was widely used by different tribes from the east coast of North America to the Rocky Mountains. They were intimately connected with other tribes, such as the Arapaho and the Gros Ventre. Fostering connections with the Lakota Sioux, the Cheyenne were among the most prominent tribes of the plains, living and hunting mainly in the hills and prairies along the Missouri and Red Rivers. They called themselves Sais, a name which is translated in many different ways, and may mean equal people, or our people originally. The Cheyenne lived in the Great Lakes area of Minnesota and on the Missouri River, where they homesteaded in earth-covered log houses, in permanent settlements, cultivated corn and pumpkins, hunted wild animals, harvested wild rice and made pottery. By the late 1600s, however, they began a westward migration, most likely due to competition and conflict with the Ojibwe, Arikara and Mandan Indians. As migrating to the southwest, their lifestyle shifted to that of nomadic hunters and gatherers. In the 1700s, the Cheyenne took over horses brought by the Spanish and became skilled buffalo hunters. Nevertheless, conflicts against their Sioux enemies eventually pushed the Cheyenne further into the plains, who in turn pushed the Kiowas tribe further south. In 1832, the Cheyenne broke up into two groups, one inhabiting the Platte River near the Black Hills, and the other living near the Arkansas River, further south in Colorado. Those who relocated to the Arkansas River eventually came into contact with the and their Comanche allies. Several fierce battles occurred between them until 1840, at which time an alliance was formed with the Apache and Comanche tribes. Under the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1851, the first Cheyenne Territory was established in northern Colorado, comprising the present-day sites of Fort Collins, Denver, and Colorado Springs. A signed peace treaty with the allowed the Cheyennes to expand their forays further south in 1853. They conducted their first raid into Mexico, with dire results, having lost most of their warriors in a battle with the Mexicans. As further European and American settlers pushed westward in the 1850s, the Cheyenne, along with their new allies, soon began to rebel against the pioneers as well as the United States Army. Upon the discovery of gold in Colorado, the 1851 treaty was breached, and the territory which had been given to the Cheyenne was taken away. A few Cheyenne warriors raided at least three groups of emigrant settlers. A combined army of 400 American soldiers headed east across the plains in search of the Cheyenne to punish them for their crimes. Influenced by a healer named White Bull, the Cheyenne took to the battle, believing spiritual medicine would prevent the American soldiers from firing. The Cheyenne encircled the approaching troops as they followed near the Solomon River. American officer Edwin Sumner commandeered a cavalry charge, and the troops charged forward with drawn sabers while the Cheyenne were forced to flee. It was the first battle that the Cheyenne fought against the United States Army. The American troops pressed on, and 2 days later burned a Cheyenne camp and obliterated the living quarters and the winter supply of buffalo meat. This prompted what became known as the Colorado War of 1864 to 1865. The Cheyenne people were forced to move to a reservation in Oklahoma, where yet another conflict took place. In the early morning hours of November 27, 1868, after experiencing a number of Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer led the 7th United States Cavalry in a raid on a peaceful Cheyenne encampment. Native revenge was to come. During the Battle of Little Bighorn on June 25, 1876, when the Cheyenne, along with the Lakota Sioux and a small band of Arapaho, wiped out the army of George Custer, who was also killed during the conflict. The battle became known as the greatest victory of the Native American Indians, as 262 soldiers died in the battle, while only about 60 Indian warriors were killed. Following the Battle of Little Bighorn, there were further efforts to force the Cheyenne onto a reservation in Indian Territory. In 1877, nearly 1,000 Northern Cheyenne were forcibly marched to Oklahoma, where they found conditions appalling, with many falling ill and dying of malaria. Unable to adjust to the hot climate, the Northern Cheyenne fled back north, led by Chief Blind Knife and Little Wolf in 1878. In 1884, an executive order created a reservation for the Northern Cheyenne in southeastern Montana these days. The Cheyenne hold two reservations, one in Tongue River, Montana, where about 6,500 people reside. The other reservation in southwestern Oklahoma consists of about 11,000 members and shared with their longtime allies, the Arapaho allies, who for decades have fought together for the right to keep their way of life.